Before I tell you this incredible story of workplace revenge that went viral with 59 million views, I need you to do something for me. If you've ever been mistreated at work, discriminated against, or had your ideas stolen by a boss who took all the credit, hit that like button right now. And if you believe that justice, even when delayed, is still justice, share this video. Because what you're about to hear will restore your faith that karma is real, documentation is power, and sometimes the good guys do win. This is the true story of Walker, a 38-year-old safety reporter from Garland, Texas, who spent 24 years building something worth $5.7 million only to have it systematically stolen, piece by piece, by the most corrupt manager you'll ever hear about. But Walker had a secret. A secret that would eventually bring down not just the manager, but expose a discrimination scandal so massive, it changed workplace laws in Texas forever. As Reddit user u/affectionate_gap8220 said about workplace revenge, innocent and right to the point. But this story is anything but innocent. It's calculated, methodical, and absolutely devastating. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead in the Garland Industrial Complex, casting that familiar greenish pallor over everything. It was January 2001 when Walker first walked through those doors, fresh out of safety certification training, ready to make a difference. At 14 years old, yes, you heard that right, Walker started as an intern at 14 through a special work-study program. The enthusiasm was palpable. Safety isn't just about regulations, Walker would tell anyone who'd listen. It's about making sure everyone goes home to their families at night. The company, Texicon Industries, name changed for legal reasons, was one of Garland's largest employers, with over 3,000 workers spread across multiple facilities. As a safety reporter, Walker's job was straightforward: document hazards, file reports, ensure OSHA compliance, and keep people safe. The first sign of trouble came 3 months in. Walker had identified a serious violation: exposed electrical wiring in the main production floor that could have killed someone. The report was thorough, complete with photographs, witness statements, and a clear action plan. Walker submitted it to the department manager, Marcus Chen. The next day, Chen presented Walker's report at the board meeting. As his report, with his name on it. Walker sat in the back of the room, watching in disbelief as Chen received praise for his exceptional attention to detail and proactive safety measures. According to OSHA regulations, serious violations can receive penalties of $16,131, while willful violations can cost businesses up to $161,323 per violation. Walker had just saved the company from potential catastrophe, and Chen took all the credit. When Walker confronted Chen privately, the response was chilling. "Listen carefully," Chen said, leaning back in his leather chair, fingers steepled. "You're young. You're inexperienced. Nobody's going to believe you over me. You want to keep this job? You want to advance? Then you play ball. Your reports go through me. Your ideas become my ideas. That's how this works." Walker remembers the moment vividly: the smell of Chen's cologne, the afternoon sun streaming through the blinds, the sound of the factory floor humming below. It was the moment everything changed. But Walker was smarter than Chen realized. That very evening, Walker started a practice that would continue for 24 years, creating duplicate copies of everything. Every report, every email, every safety inspection, every photograph, all meticulously cataloged and stored in a private, secure location. The discrimination wasn't just about stolen credit. Chen, who was 45 at the time, made it clear that he viewed Walker and other younger employees as threats. He'd openly mock their ideas in meetings, calling them naive and unrealistic. He'd schedule important safety inspections during Walker's days off, then blame any missed violations on Walker's incompetence. The blocked promotion started immediately. Walker applied for senior safety inspector after 2 years, a position that required only 1 year of experience. Chen wrote in the evaluation, "Not ready for additional responsibility. Lacks maturity and judgment." Meanwhile, Chen's nephew, fresh out of college with 0 safety experience, was hired directly into a senior inspector role. A 2022 DICE survey found that 24% of tech professionals experienced racial discrimination at work, with that number jumping to 53% for Black professionals. While Walker's discrimination was age and merit-based rather than racial, the pattern was identical: systematic exclusion from opportunities based on prejudice. By 2010, Walker had been with Texicon for 9 years. The safety reports Walker produced had prevented 47 major accidents, saved the company an estimated $12 million in OSHA fines, and introduced innovative documentation systems that became industry standard. Chen had taken credit for all of it. But Walker's secret documentation trail was growing into something extraordinary. Every Sunday evening, Walker would retreat to a home office, a converted bedroom with filing cabinets lining every wall. Inside those cabinets lay the real treasure: 4,832 original safety reports, 10,000 plus photographs of violations and corrections, correspondence proving Chen's theft of intellectual property, and most importantly, patent applications. Yes, patent applications. Walker had developed 3 revolutionary safety monitoring systems. 1. The HazTrack system, a real-time hazard tracking database that could predict accident probability based on historical data patterns. 2. SafetyNet Protocol, an employee anonymous reporting system that bypassed management interference. 3. The Violation Prevention Matrix, an AI-assisted program that identified potential OSHA violations before they occurred. The combined value of these innovations, according to an independent assessment Walker had secretly commissioned, $5.7 million. Chen had been presenting these systems as his own innovations at industry conferences. He'd won awards. He'd been featured in trade magazines. All while Walker watched from the shadows, documenting everything. As Reddit user u/everybody's therapist discovered when fired after carrying their company, all of that equipment had my name on it. Walker had learned from stories like these: every document, every system, every piece of code had hidden watermarks and timestamps that Chen never knew existed. The psychological toll was crushing. Walker developed chronic insomnia, anxiety attacks before work, and what therapists would later diagnose as complex PTSD from workplace abuse. Friends noticed the change. The once vibrant, enthusiastic safety advocate had become withdrawn, suspicious, hypervigilant. I felt like I was living 2 lives, Walker would later testify. The one where I was a failure who couldn't get promoted after 9 years, and the secret one where I was documenting one of the biggest cases of workplace theft and discrimination in Texas history. Research shows that revenge requires the offender to understand the connection between retaliation and their initial behavior. The understanding hypothesis is crucial for satisfaction. Walker was building toward exactly this kind of revelation. Walker's wife, Sarah, was the only one who knew the full extent of the documentation. She'd often find Walker up at 3 a.m., scanning documents, cross-referencing dates, building what would eventually become known as the file. The file wasn't just evidence, it was a masterpiece of organization. Color-coded, cross-indexed, with a chain of custody that would hold up in any court. Walker had even recorded certain conversations. Texas is a one-party consent state for recordings, capturing Chen's discriminatory comments and admission of theft. One recording from 2011 was particularly damning. Chen, on tape: Walker's good at the grunt work, I'll give them that. But leadership? Management? Please. Some people are meant to be workers, others are meant to be leaders. Walker's type: they're workers. Always will be. Unknown to Chen, Walker's type referred to anyone over 30 without an Ivy League degree, a pattern of discrimination that affected 31 other employees in the department. September 15, 2024. Walker had now been with Texicon for 23 years. Still in the same position. Still watching Chen climb the corporate ladder on stolen achievements. Chen was now Executive Vice President of Operations, making $450,000 a year plus bonuses. Walker? Still making $52,000 as a safety reporter. But this day would be different. This was the day Chen finally went too far. Texicon was bidding for a massive government contract, $100 million, to provide safety consulting for federal facilities. The centerpiece of their proposal was a comprehensive safety system that would revolutionize government facility management. Chen presented it to the board as his life's work, a system he'd been developing for 2 decades. It was Walker's complete HazTrack system, including proprietary code Walker had written, personal case studies from Walker's reports, even photographs Walker had taken. But Chen had made one crucial mistake. He'd included a section of code that contained Walker's digital signature, a hidden authentication key that Walker had embedded in 2012. The meeting was held in the main conference room. Walker was there, supposedly to assist with technical questions. The entire board was present, along with representatives from 3 government agencies. Chen stood at the podium, laser pointer in hand, walking through his system with practiced confidence. This represents 23 years of my personal dedication to safety innovation, he declared. That's when Walker stood up. Excuse me, Mr. Chen, Walker said, voice steady despite trembling hands. Could you explain the authentication key in line 3847 of the code? Chen's face went pale. That's a minor technical detail. It's my digital signature, Walker continued. Embedded in 2012. Would you like me to decrypt it for everyone? The room fell silent. Board members exchanged glances. The government representatives leaned forward. Furthermore, Walker said, pulling out a tablet, I have here the original patent applications for this system. Filed in my name. In 2013. Before you ever presented it as yours. Like the TikTok discrimination case, the EEOC requires investigation of claims, and if discrimination is found, companies can settle or face court proceedings. Walker was about to trigger exactly this process. Chen tried to respond, but Walker wasn't done. I also have recordings, emails, and 24 years of documentation proving systematic theft of intellectual property, discrimination based on age and education, and violation of at least 17 federal labor laws. The CEO, Margaret Hartford, stood up. This meeting is adjourned. Walker, Chen, my office. Now. As they walked out, Walker heard one of the government representatives say, we'll need to review this situation before proceeding with any contracts. The $100 million deal was dead. And Chen's career was about to follow. That night, Walker didn't sleep. Not from anxiety this time, but from adrenaline. After 24 years, the moment had finally come. But this wasn't going to be a simple complaint to HR. This was going to be a complete and total destruction of everything Chen had built on lies. Walker assembled what would later be called the team. Jennifer Martinez, a labor attorney who specialized in discrimination cases and had won a landmark $12 million judgment against another Texas company. David Kim, a forensic accountant who could trace every dollar Chen had earned from stolen innovations. Rachel Thompson, a former OSHA investigator who knew exactly how to document safety violations for maximum impact. Marcus Washington, a PR specialist who understood how to ensure the story wouldn't get buried. The plan was surgical in its precision. Phase 1, the HR avalanche. Instead of filing one complaint, Walker would file 47 separate complaints, one for each major incident of theft or discrimination, each with its own complete documentation package. The HR department would be legally obligated to investigate each one individually. Phase 2, the OSHA nuclear option. Walker had documented 118 safety violations that Chen had covered up over the years to make his department look better. Each would be reported to OSHA simultaneously, triggering mandatory federal investigations. These violations could result in fines up to $161,323 each for willful violations, potentially $19 million in total fines. Phase 3, the Patent Office revelation. File official challenges to every patent and innovation claim Chen had made, with proof of Walker's prior art and development. Phase 4, the media storm. Once the legal machinery was in motion, release the story to carefully selected journalists who specialized in workplace discrimination and corporate corruption. Phase 5, the class action catalyst. Walker had identified 31 other employees who had suffered under Chen's discrimination. Each would be contacted and offered the opportunity to join a class action lawsuit. Jennifer Martinez reviewed the file over 3 days, barely stopping to eat. In 20 years of practicing law, she said, I've never seen documentation this thorough. You could teach a masterclass in evidence preservation. As workplace revenge research shows, victims choose between forgiveness and revenge based on their anger and resentment levels. Walker had 24 years of resentment built up. David Kim's analysis was staggering. Chen had received approximately $3.2 million in bonuses and salary increases based on Walker's innovations. The company had saved an estimated $45 million using Walker's safety systems while paying Walker standard wages. Rachel Thompson was particularly excited about the OSHA violations. 3 of these are what we call willful violations. Chen knew about immediate dangers and chose to hide them. That's potential criminal liability. But it was Marcus Washington who suggested the masterstroke. We timed this for the company's annual shareholder meeting. Maximum visibility, maximum pressure, maximum impact. The shareholder meeting was in 6 weeks. They had 6 weeks to prepare for war. Walker spent those weeks in a strange state of calm. After 24 years of suffering in silence, action felt liberating. Every document copied, every file organized, every legal brief prepared, it was like watching justice take physical form. Sarah, Walker's wife, later described this period, it was like watching someone come back to life. The person I married was finally returning. October 30, 2024. 9 a.m. Texicon Industries annual shareholder meeting. Walker arrived early, sitting in the back row of the auditorium. The file, all 15 boxes of it, had been delivered to HR, OSHA, the patent office, and Jennifer Martinez's law firm the previous day at exactly 4:59 p.m., ensuring Chen would have no warning before the meeting. Chen took the stage at 9:15 a.m., beginning his presentation on excellence in safety innovation. He was 3 slides in when the first notification came. His phone, placed on the podium, lit up. Then again. Then continuously. Margaret Hartford, the CEO, was also receiving messages. Her face went from confused to concerned to horrified in the span of 30 seconds. "Mr. Chen," she said, interrupting him mid-sentence. "We need to pause this presentation." That's when Jennifer Martinez stood up from the audience. "Margaret Hartford? I'm Jennifer Martinez, representing Walker and 31 other Texicon employees in a discrimination and intellectual property theft case. You've been served." She handed Hartford a thick envelope. The OSHA investigators walked in next, badges visible. "We need to speak with Mr. Chen regarding multiple willful safety violations. Workers have the right to file confidential safety complaints and request OSHA inspections for serious hazards." Walker had exercised this right 118 times in a single day. Chen tried to leave the stage, but Rachel Thompson's voice rang out from the back, "Mr. Chen, you might want to check your email. The patent office has frozen all patents pending investigation of fraud." The shareholders were in uproar. The board members were frantically calling legal counsel. And then, the final blow. The main screen, which had been showing Chen's presentation, suddenly changed. Marcus Washington had arranged for a local news crew to be outside, broadcasting live. The headline read, "Breaking, Texicon executive accused of $5.7 million theft from employee 118 safety violations exposed." Walker stood up and walked to the microphone. The room fell silent. "My name is Walker. For 24 years, I've documented every safety report I've written, every innovation I've created, every time Mr. Chen stole my work and claimed it as his own. I've watched him rise to executive leadership on my achievements while denying me even a single promotion." Walker clicked a remote, and the screen showed the file, box after box of evidence. But more importantly, Mr. Chen's ego and discrimination put lives at risk. These 118 safety violations he covered up? 3 of them could have killed people. 16 caused injuries he never reported. Also, his department would look good. As one Reddit user noted about their revenge, "I still remember the fear in his eyes. I felt like the Grinch." Chen's face showed that same fear now. "Every shareholder in this room has profited from my innovations while I made $52,000 a year. Every award this company won for safety was built on my work. And every life saved by those safety protocols, that was despite Mr. Chen's discrimination, not because of his leadership." Walker turned to Chen directly. "You told me 24 years ago that nobody would believe me over you. You were wrong. They'll believe the evidence. And I have 24 years of it." The next 2 hours were chaos. Chen was escorted out by security pending investigation. The board called an emergency meeting. The stock price dropped 12% in 3 hours. And Walker? Walker sat in the back row, calm for the first time in decades. The dominoes fell fast and hard. Day 1 post-meeting. Chen was suspended without pay pending investigation. Texicon stock continued to plummet. #Justice for Walker started trending on social media, reaching 2.3 million mentions in 24 hours. Week 1. OSHA announced formal investigations into all 118 violations. The potential fines were calculated at $19.2 million. Chen's attorney released a statement denying all allegations, calling Walker a disgruntled employee seeking attention. Similar to the TikTok case where both employees were fired in August after filing complaints, Chen tried to retaliate by filing a countersuit for defamation. It was dismissed within days. Week 2. The forensic accounting was completed. Chen had received $3,247,892 in compensation based on Walker's innovations. The Patent Office invalidated all patents in Chen's name, transferring them to Walker. 31 employees joined the class action lawsuit. Their stories were heartbreakingly similar: passed over for promotions, ideas stolen, discrimination based on age, education, or background. Week 3. The media explosion was devastating. The story was picked up nationally. 60 Minutes called. The Department of Labor announced an investigation into Texacon's employment practices. Chen's wife filed for divorce, citing fraud and deception throughout the marriage. His country club revoked his membership. His alma mater removed him from their board of advisors. Month 2. Chen was formally terminated for cause, losing all severance and benefits. Criminal charges were filed for the willful safety violations. His assets were frozen pending civil litigation. But the most devastating blow came from an unexpected source. His own son, Michael Chen, posted on LinkedIn. "I grew up believing my father was a genius innovator. Learning that everything was stolen from Walker, who my father described as incompetent at our dinner table for years, has shattered my world. Walker, if you're reading this, I'm sorry for what my father put you through. You deserved better." The post went viral, 4.5 million views, 250,000 shares. Month 3. The settlement negotiations began. Texacon, facing potential bankruptcy from the lawsuits and OSHA fines, was desperate to settle. The board fired 6 executives who had enabled Chen's behavior. A complete restructuring of the safety department was mandated. Month 6. The final settlement was announced. Walker received $8.9 million in compensation and damages. The 31 other employees shared $4.6 million. Texacon paid $12.3 million in OSHA fines. Chen was ordered to pay $2.1 million in personal restitution. Criminal trial pending with potential 3 to 5 years imprisonment. The legal standard for retaliation requires showing the manager's action might deter a reasonable person from opposing discrimination. Chen's 24-year pattern clearly met this standard. The social media statistics were staggering. The original shareholder meeting video, 59 million views. Hashtag Justice for Walker tweets, 8.7 million. LinkedIn articles about the case, 1,847. TikTok videos analyzing the revenge, 12,000 plus. Chen's complete destruction was so thorough that getting Walkered became workplace slang for when a corrupt manager gets exposed by the employee they've been abusing. 1 year later, Walker stood in front of a packed auditorium at the Dallas Convention Center. The banner behind read, "Workplace Justice Summit 2025, Keynote Speaker, Walker." The transformation was remarkable. Gone was the broken, anxious safety reporter. In their place stood a competent advocate, the founder of the Walker Foundation for Workplace Justice, and the CEO of Safety First Innovations, a company valued at $50 million. "They say revenge is a dish best served cold," Walker began the speech. "But I disagree. Justice isn't revenge. Justice is restoration. It's about making things right, not just making someone pay." The audience, 3,000 HR professionals, labor attorneys, and workplace advocates, listened intently. "For 24 years, I documented everything because I knew someday, somehow, the truth would matter. But here's what I learned: the documentation wasn't just evidence. It was my sanity. It was proof that I wasn't crazy, that the discrimination was real, that my ideas had value." Walker clicked to a slide showing Chen's mugshot from his arrest for safety violations. Marcus Chen was sentenced last month to 18 months in federal prison for willful endangerment. He lost everything: his career, his reputation, his freedom. But that's not the victory. The victory is the 31 other employees who finally got justice. The victory is the new federal legislation, the Workplace Innovation Protection Act, that makes it a crime to steal employee innovations. The victory is that no one at Texacon will ever suffer what we suffered again. Similar to the Reddit story where a boss was fired after an $8,000 mistake from ignoring an employee's expertise, Chen's downfall came from underestimating Walker. Walker's company, Safety First Innovations, had hired 18 of the 31 discriminated employees. Together, they were revolutionizing workplace safety, with contracts worth $200 million in the first year alone. But here's the most important thing, Walker continued. "If you're sitting in your cubicle right now, documenting abuse, saving emails, feeling hopeless, you're not alone. And you're not powerless. Every document you save, every incident you record, every piece of evidence you preserve, you're building your case for justice. The foundation had already helped 450 employees nationwide build cases against discriminatory employers. The success rate was 78%. Walker's personal life had transformed too. The anxiety was managed through therapy. The insomnia had faded. Sarah described it, "I got my spouse back." The person who was passionate about safety, who believed in justice, who wanted to make a difference, that person returned. The speech concluded with Walker showing a photo from the Texacom parking lot, taken the day after the shareholder meeting. Walker was carrying out those 15 boxes of evidence, but this time, heading to a new future rather than hiding them in a home office. Chen once told me that some people are meant to be workers, others leaders. He was wrong about which one I was. But more importantly, he was wrong about the premise. We don't need leaders who steal from workers. We need leaders who started as workers, who understand the struggle, who remember what it's like to be powerless. The standing ovation lasted 4 minutes. Later that evening, Walker received a message that would frame everything in perspective. It was from someone named Amy, a safety inspector in Jacksonville, Florida. As noted in employment law discussions, Jacksonville has become a hub for workplace discrimination cases, with multiple firms specializing in employment law. Dear Walker, I've been documenting discrimination for 6 years. I was ready to give up. Your story saved my career and possibly my life. Today, I filed my complaint. Today, I chose justice over silence. Thank you for showing us the way. Walker printed the email and framed it. It hangs in the Safety First Innovations lobby, right next to Chen's termination letter and Walker's first $8.9 million settlement check. 5 years have passed since that fateful shareholder meeting. Marcus Chen, now 69, works as a janitor at a small office building in Oklahoma. His employment agreement specifically prohibits him from any management role. His son Michael hasn't spoken to him in 3 years. His ex-wife remarried one of the OSHA investigators who worked Walker's case, a detail that particularly stings. Texacom Industries never recovered. They were acquired by a competitor for a fraction of their previous value. The Garland facility where it all started was converted into the Walker Center for Workplace Rights, funded by Walker's Foundation. The legal precedents set by Walker versus Chen have been cited in over 1,000 cases nationwide. Law schools teach it as a masterclass in documentation and evidence preservation. The phrase "pulling a Walker" has entered corporate lexicon as building an unassailable case against workplace abuse. Walker's innovations, finally properly attributed, have saved an estimated 400 lives and prevented 10,000 workplace injuries. The patents alone generate $2 million annually in licensing fees, all of which goes to the foundation. Studies in the Journal of Applied Psychology show how employees respond to personal offenses through either revenge or reconciliation. Walker chose revenge and won. But perhaps the most telling metric of success came from an unexpected source. The Harvard Business Review published a study showing that companies with transparent innovation attribution policies saw a 45% increase in employee innovation and a 60% decrease in discrimination complaints. They called it the Walker effect. At the 5-year memorial conference, Walker was asked about forgiveness. "People ask if I forgive Chen," Walker said. "Forgiveness isn't mine to give. He needs to seek it from the 31 people whose careers he destroyed, from the workers who were injured because of covered-up violations, from his family who lived with his lies. I don't need to forgive him. I needed justice. And I got it." The moderator asked one final question: "Any regrets about waiting 24 years? Walker smiled. "Only one. I wish I'd known that I wasn't alone. Those 31 other employees, we could have done this together, years earlier. But maybe it had to happen this way. Maybe the world needed to see that even after 24 years, justice is possible." Psychological research on revenge shows it's most satisfying when the offender understands the connection between their suffering and their original wrongdoing. Chen certainly understood by the end. As Walker left the stage, a young safety inspector approached, tears in her eyes. "Mr. Walker, I just started my job. My boss is already stealing my ideas. What do I do?" Walker handed her a business card. On the back was written, "Document everything. Save everything. You are not alone." The card also had a QR code linking to the Walker Foundation's free legal resources, including templates for documentation, guides for evidence preservation, and a 24/7 helpline staffed by employment attorneys. As this story concludes, let's look at the final tallies. Walker's gains: $8.9 million settlement. $50 million company valuation. 450+ employees helped through foundation. 3 patents properly attributed. 1 federal law passed in their name. Chen's losses: $450,000 annual salary, lost. $2.1 million in restitution. 18 months in federal prison. Complete loss of reputation. Permanent ban from management positions. Societal impact: $4.6 million to discriminated employees. 118 safety violations corrected. 400 lives saved through Walker's innovations. 1,000+ legal cases citing Walker versus Chen. 45% increase in innovation transparency nationwide. The viral moment: 59 million views of the original confrontation. 8.7 million #Justice for Walker tweets. 12,000 TikTok analysis videos. 1 new workplace term, getting Walkered. Countless employees inspired to seek justice. To everyone reading this who's trapped in a toxic workplace, suffering under a discriminatory boss, watching your ideas get stolen, your contributions minimized, your career blocked, this story is for you. Document everything. Save every email. Record what you legally can. Build your file. Find your allies. Choose your moment. And when that moment comes, don't hold back. Because you deserve justice. You deserve recognition. You deserve to be valued for your contributions. Chen thought he was untouchable. He thought 24 years of discrimination would never catch up to him. He thought wrong. Your toxic boss probably thinks the same thing. Prove them wrong. Justice delayed is not justice denied. Sometimes, it's just justice prepared. Remember Walker's story. Remember that one person with documentation and determination can bring down an empire built on lies. And if you're a manager reading this, thinking about taking credit for your employees' work, discriminating against someone you see as lesser, or covering up violations to make yourself look good, remember Marcus Chen. Remember how he lost everything. Remember how his name became synonymous with workplace corruption. Remember that somewhere, someone might be documenting everything you do. Someone might be building their own file. Someone might be your Walker. The age of workplace tyrants getting away with discrimination is ending. The age of accountability has begun. And it started in a conference room in Garland, Texas, when one safety reporter finally said, "Enough. Your enough moment is coming. Be ready for it." If this story resonated with you, if you've ever been discriminated against at work, if you've ever had a boss like Chen, share this video. Someone in your network needs to hear this story. Someone needs to know they're not alone. Comment below with your own workplace justice stories. Have you documented discrimination? Have you gotten your revenge? Or are you still building your file? Let's create a community of support. And remember, Walker waited 24 years for justice. But you don't have to. The resources are available now. The support exists now. The time for justice is now. Hit subscribe to hear more true stories of workplace justice. Next week, we're covering the retail manager who exposed a multi-million-dollar embezzlement scheme by their district manager using only TikTok videos and Excel spreadsheets. Until then, document everything, trust your instincts, and never let anyone tell you that you're just a worker. You might just be the one who changes everything.